Hello and welcome. You're watching WION Pulse with me, Mohammed Saleh. Let's start this broadcast by taking a look at what is making headlines at this hour. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has slammed the West and has said that new foreign policy's strategy adopted by President Vladimir Putin identifies the West as posing an existential threat to Russia.
Серьезно скорректировать ключевые документы стратегического планирования. В их числе концепция внешней.
Donald Trump, after a vote on Thursday, kickstarting the process that will bring the former president back to New York to face charges.
A New York grand jury has indicted Donald Trump over hush money payments made to a porn star, making him the first ever former American president to be charged with a crime. Although what is interesting is that the charges leveled against Trump have not been made public. The Wall Street Journal has actually called for Russia's ambassador to the United States of America to be expelled following the arrest of one of the newspaper's reporters in Russia on charges of espionage. The Philippines and the United States carry out their biggest ever joint military drills in the annual war games, highlighting the improving ties with the Western powers under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Where is that? That state?
Nevada.
About 11 people are reported to have been killed in a stampede during the distribution of food aid in the southern Pakistani city of Karachi, one of the several such incidents in recent weeks as the country's economic crisis gets worse. And Pope Francis baptizes a newborn in the pediatric ward of the Gemelli Hospital in Rome, where he is presently undergoing treatment for bronchitis. All right, so let's start this broadcast with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. Pakistan is once again at a pretty dangerous crossroads. The country, it appears, is almost failing its people. The economy is worsening. Even all-weather friends that Pakistan has, such as China and many of the Arab nations, have refused to bail out Pakistan from the current financial mess that it finds itself in. This desperation is visible on the streets of Pakistan. There are long queues that have been witnessed at floor distribution sites that are in fact resulting in stampedes and deaths. And amidst all this, the political squabble is also getting worse, and even the judiciary hasn't been spared from the tug of war. With the failing democratic institutions, the big question is, of course, this: is the ground again fertile for possibly the military to step in? Is Pakistan heading for another possible military coup? Our next poll gets you the details.
Chaos, confusion, crisis. And then the imminent question, is Pakistan staring at another coup? The situation is turning from bad to worse. Look at these images, the desperation of the ordinary, hard-working people. About a dozen people were killed as crowds rushed to grab a packet of flour. Not an isolated incident, inflation is 30%. The highest in 5 decades. Costs of basic goods have surged even more, adding to the woes of an average Pakistani. But the situation is only headed south, because Islamabad was forced to remove subsidies as a condition to get financial support from the IMF. On top of that, the currency is in a tailspin. The political establishment is stuck in a quagmire. The government continues to blame its predecessor for the economic fallacies. And even all weather friends in the Arab world are refusing to bail out Pakistan from the economic turmoil. Then there is the Pakistan Taliban. A Frankenstein in its own creation is breathing fire. On the 4th of March, the TTP struck at a mosque in Peshawar, killing about 100 people. Most of them were policemen. The very men who are on the front lines fighting against the terrorists. The group, which has tacit backing of Kabul, keeps challenging Islamabad, which for now looks helpless. Remember, this is a nation still trying to recover from the floods, which ravaged wide swaths of the country in October last year. Over 1,700 people died and caused damages in excess of $15 billion. On top of this, there is dogfight in the political theater, which keeps getting uglier. The Shehbaz Sharif government blames its predecessor for all the economic woes, while defiant Imran Khan keeps challenging the very establishment, and the Prime Minister is calling the President the mouthpiece of ex-Pak PM Imran's party. Pakistan government is also locking horns with the judiciary. The tug of war is for control over institutions. Judges are openly being called out for being biased. Amidst the deterioration of institutions, all eyes are now on the deep state in Pakistan, where the real power lies. Will the commanders step in as they have done thrice earlier? 1958, 1977 and 1999. The big question then is, will the Pakistan army once again step in and swipe the chessboard? All in all, the current establishment in Pakistan seems to be on a warpath with its own people. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now to help us understand the situation in Pakistan better, we are being joined by journalist and columnist Raja Fazal. He's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. Fazal, thank you very much indeed, sir, for taking time out and speaking to us here on WION. The question that a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, even in Pakistan, that is now being asked is, these stampedes that have taken place in places where this ration was being distributed to the people. This paints a very dire picture for the Pakistani people. Where do you think the Pakistani nation is headed, when the government simply seems not to have a grip on the many problems that it faces?
Yes, Mohammed, you have pointed out rightly that right now, of course, there is a dilemma which is being faced by Pakistani nation. We know that this is the very nation that was being fed in the government-run kitchens in the previous government, and there were government-run food programs, and nobody knew where they were taking place. But of course, people were getting all of the supplies at the door. And right now, what we're seeing is that this current government, which is considered as a mixed pickle government, widely known in Pakistan because it is a PDM, so many parties in it, and seems like they are very poor in administration, and they have failed, miserably failed in one last year. That is why we are seeing on the roads people getting stampeded, just because this is an utmost poor administration by the government. And if we look at the priorities of the government, government has the priorities just to head towards the political victimization of their political foes. We have seen that there are nearly 130 cases on Imran Khan, including the terrorism charges against him. Last time I heard from his lawyer, when I talked to him, it was 130. And then after that, of course, I lost the count.
Absolutely, Mr. Fazal. That actually brings me to my next question, because we also, been covering the crisis within the Pakistani judiciary. There are 2 Supreme Court judges in Pakistan who have recused themselves from a case. Now, there is talk within the Pakistani political establishment of clipping some of the powers that the Chief Justice of Pakistan enjoys, because the former Prime Minister, such as Nawaz Sharif, have come forth and said that the suo motu powers that the Pakistani Chief Justice has created political instability in Pakistan. Now, a lot of people are saying that with the Pakistani economy being what it is, in deep crisis with no one willing to bail it out, with the political turmoil that has now gripped the nation, with people being so desperate, who can provide a certain level of stability? Is the ground now fertile, possibly, for the Pakistani military to step in?
Well, it's a question, $1 million question you have asked me right now. If I give you my word, and I would say no, not at this moment. 58 was different, 77 was different, 99 situation was entirely different. We are living in an age where social media is very active, number one. Number two, the political voices in Pakistan, even if we take the example of Imran Khan, he has highlighted again and again that he believes in democracy, he believes in power in the hands of the people, and it should be the people who should decide who should come in the power. And let me rephrase it for you, that the current chief and the previous chief, both of them, time and again, they stated that they are completely apolitical. Army as an institution, it would keep itself apolitical in coming future. So I don't see that happening. Yes, we can say that there will be a slighter intervention to make the decisions, to bring all of the stakeholders for a consensus, for the better of the people. Because if we see at the people right now, people of Pakistan, they are the ones who are the victims to whole of the political crisis which is being created in Pakistan right now. So I personally believe that institutions will play their roles, but when it comes to that they taking over as bring in forces in for another coup, I don't see that taking place.
All right, very interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Fazal, for joining us and getting us all those insights. But a lot of people in Pakistan would probably say that the institutions that are in place are not functioning in the manner that they should, and probably it is the opportunistic politicians have now created conditions where things are just not progressing further in Pakistan. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Fazal, anyway,
Thank you
for joining us and getting us all those insights there. Let's now turn our attention to the United States of America, and it is a former American president who's in all kinds of legal trouble. It is being dubbed as the case of a president and a porn star. Now, Donald Trump has been indicted, the first former or sitting president to face criminal charges. So what happens next? Can he still run for the top job at the White House? What is the Stormy saga about Stormy Daniels all about, and how did an American president get involved with a porn star? Our next report gets you all the details.
Unprecedented in the history of the United States of America. For the first time, a former president is facing criminal charges. A storm is brewing, shaking the very foundation of the world's oldest democracy. At the heart of it is Donald John Trump, the 45th president of the US. The story goes back to a stormy affair in July 2006. Trump, who was a reality television star, met a porn film star, Stormy Daniels, at a celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. The grand jury indictment follows months of hearing of evidence about an alleged payment of $130,000 to the actress in the waning days of the 2016 campaign. Trump has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. Trump's attorney at the time, Michael Cohen, allegedly made the payment to buy Daniels' silence. It is further stated that Trump was president when he reimbursed Cohen with monthly checks of $35,000 from his personal account. The case is once again widening the deep political chasm in American society.
It's a Democrats-run state, so what you can expect, it's a witch hunt.
This is the beginning of something that will really bring down a very, very bad person.
It's not going to stop here. We've got to continue fighting for Trump because they're going to continue going after Trump.
It was just a matter of time. You can only lie so much. At some point it will catch up with you.
Interestingly, the US Constitution does not prohibit a convict from becoming the country's president, at least technically. Mind-boggling as it may sound, a convicted person can even function as president from inside the prison. For Trump, the indictment could jeopardize his presidential prospects, but it might well be an opportunity to further rally his supporters. The legal tangle for the 76-year-old Republican leader is far from over. He is facing legal scrutiny for his role in the Capitol Hill insurrection, and also the mishandling of classified documents.
President Trump himself shortly after released his own lengthy statement, in part saying that the Democrats had done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference. This case brought by Alvin Bragg, who is a Democrat, is anything but a sure bet. First of all, it will be a lengthy process, and second of all, there is no guarantees. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
All right, now joining us on our broadcast is our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. And we're also joined by Democrat strategist Crystal Knight, and she is also joining us in the broadcast. Susan, let me in fact begin by asking you this question. Now, Donald Trump has become the first ever former president of the United States of America to in fact be indicted in the case of Stormy Daniels. But at this moment, the charges against him have not been made public. How is the Trump camp looking at his indictment?
Yeah, it's customary for judges here in New York to keep these charges sealed until the defendant has his or her first court appearance. The Trump camp was told that Donald Trump, his lawyers were told that Donald Trump was indicted shortly after Thursday afternoon, and they released a statement saying that they will fight vigorously until the very end. They believe that their client is innocent. Donald Trump himself released a lengthy statement calling this election interference, saying that it's in line with those impeachments and it's a witch hunt. So we do know that they plan to also surrender. So we're not anticipating some kind of arrest of any sort. And it's important to note that the manner that this is going to happen, a lot of it lies in the hands of a Secret Service when he returns here to New York, possibly next week.
Absolutely indeed. Now, do continue to stay on with this, Susan. Let me, in fact, bring Crystal Knight into this. Now, Ms. Knight, this is something that the Trump camp says is nothing more than political witch hunt. They say there is absolutely no merit in the case. Donald Trump, in fact, goes on to state that he is actually a victim of extreme extortion? How is all this playing out on the minds of the American public? Because Donald Trump could well be in the running for the 2024 presidential campaign.
Well, I think it's interesting that Donald Trump calls this extortion when, Michael Cohen has already stated that he was directed by Donald Trump to pay off Stormy Daniels. I think, your question about him running for office, unfortunately, this does not interfere with him running for office. We will see if this indictment actually strengthens or hurts his case as he makes this plea before the American public that he deserves another shot at, running or being the president of the United States. But ultimately, it's not a good look for him. And that's the big thing here. I think your reporter just stated that this will likely be a lengthy legal battle. I don't expect this to be solved before the 2024 elections. But considering that there's another case that's happening in Georgia right now about his attempt to overturn the election, that likely has bigger sticking power and will likely be harder for him to beat than this particular case.
All right, very interesting. We seem to have run out of time. Thank you very much indeed to Susan Tehrani and also to Crystal Knight for joining us and getting us all those insights there. And with that, it's also a wrap on this edition of the News Bulletin. Stay tuned to WION.